Hey, Juventini, and maybe a few Benfica fans. We'll find out soon enough. How is everyone doing? We are here live. We are pre-gaming Juve Benfica with Dash, and of course our very special guest, Adrian from Rabona TV. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm very much looking forward to this match, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your guys' side of things as to what's going on with Allegri and Juventus this season, because it's not looking as sharp as I thought they would in the second season, or technically second season of Allegri.
You will be mostly correct in saying that, yes. We could definitely get into that. And there's a couple things we want to hear from you, of course, from the Benfica perspective, because, yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about your team other than what people like you really tell me about it. So, I mean, I'm super excited to hear from you.
Yeah, we may or may not have watched a couple of Benfica videos on your channel before we got ready for this show. Guilty over here.
Okay.
I mean, it is no surprise, really. Like, you are an out-and-out Benfica fan. I'm pretty sure everyone that follows you knows that, or even has heard your name knows that you're a Benfica fan. So, I mean, it was actually Dash that when he saw that Benfica was coming up, he's like, Rabona. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And he just immediately reached out to you. So I'm super glad. We're all happy. We're all excited that you can make it out. So let's dive into it. I'm just going to pull out because, I mean, I like to start off on a good note as best as we can. That didn't happen yesterday, so we're right in the ship here. But this was a comment that pulled up on your one of your YouTubes. Was it the one your weekly? Which video was this?
No, this one came out with my Champions League prediction / preview video, where I had Juventus going out in third and into Europa League. And L, whoever this is, L, shout out. He is apparently the gatekeeper of all Juventus creators and has said that I have been basically banned. I'm not welcome anymore. I'm persona non grata, unfortunately. So I'm surprised you guys are going against L and bringing me on here.
It's because we're horrible people, and honestly, I don't know why I allowed you on here. Because I mean, I'm next in line to get banned. The ban hammer's coming. So.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
You know, the thing is we don't take anything from L's. We give out L's. So let's just keep it at that.
Yeah. So no, that's awesome. As soon as I saw that, I had a good laugh. I really enjoyed that. I mean,
yes. So did I. And it's funny because when I tweeted it out, it was that comment, and then right after it was another Juventus supporter saying, you know what, you're kind of right about Juve. We aren't that great. So it's just like one guy can't take an opinion. He takes that as disrespect. And the other guy was like, you know what, hey, you're not too far off.
Yeah, you see, so I'm kind of curious if the Benfica fan base is like that. Because like right now, our fan base, I want to say it's a little bit polarized because like, for example, you have like the Allegri out and the Tuchel in folks for Juve right now. And then you have like everything is fine and dandy, everything's peachy, and then like it's weird because it's like almost where like you're looking at the Juve Twitter space and it's almost like picking a side. Like you go on the far extreme of take Allegri out and bring in Tuchel or Vincente Italiano or Juric from Torino, and then like you have other folks that are like, well, you know, we need X amount of players, et cetera, and then it's like you'll have Davide and I go on a stream. We're like we're more so in the middle where we're like, hey, we're not like scorched earth with Allegri yet, but at the same time, like we don't really need new players. I think we just need to have an adjustment. So I was wondering if Benfica's like that, but I mean, you guys are in outstanding form right now, so I think it's a little bit more peachier over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you guys had seen any of my coverage previously on Benfica, you would have seen that this was a club that was very much divided. People started taking sides as to whether they support our old manager, Jorge Jesus, or not. People taking sides as to whether our former president was actually, you know, not a criminal, or is he actually a criminal? That is money laundering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there was some division, and there's often, you know, with Benfica, we have the socio system. So there's votes for the next president, and it goes on and on and on. So there was plenty of division in the past, but I would say that this season with Roger Schmidt coming in and with the team playing so well, finally, it's been peachy. As you said, it's been pretty peachy so far. And I'm sure we'll get into this, we haven't really been tested that greatly yet. I feel like every single match we played, we've been probably the favorites. Bar maybe some people had other opinions during our Champions League qualification, but I think that still we'd be considered the top team in those two playoffs that we did play. So Yeah, we haven't hit any hard bumps just yet, but they're coming. Our schedule, starting with this next match, is going to get increasingly difficult.
Yeah,
We
I
hope
get
so.
you. So I'm actually so I kind of want to steer a question towards Roger Schmidt because I'm a little bit curious on that. So like for example, Juve, we tend to have a history of only hiring Italian managers. I mean, there's a very rare instance that we did something that's outside of Italy. So, like for example, Deschamps in the promotion year that we came out of Serie B, and then also back in like the last time we had a foreign manager was back in the '70s, where we had someone from the Czech Republic. So, like, is it the same thing with Benfica? Are you guys like really like it has to be a Portuguese manager because, and it's like it's kind of curious because like you guys went in and you got a German manager, totally different style, what I would assume of what's being played in Portugal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, Benfica flirted with foreign managers for a while, mostly in the sort of early to mid 2000s. We had Spanish guys like Quique Sanchez Flores. We had Ronald Koeman in the past. We had Trapattoni for a season. But then after that, we tended to, with Jorge Jesus, we tended to stick with Portuguese managers from there on out pretty much. And I and another vocal minority, I would say, amongst the Benfica support were begging for us to look outside of our own league, because you see, and it happens in Italy as well, you see these same names sort of brought up all the time. This guy's up and then he gets a team relegated and then he's gone for a bit and then he comes back and then he's getting linked with a top job. And it's just enough with these Portuguese managers that all tend to have a similar sort of way of playing. If you've seen Portuguese managers in European competitions before, they tend to play pretty defensively, like a Fernando Santos in the national level,
Yep.
or Abel Ferreira, who is with Palmeiras right now. He won back-to-back Copa Libertadores, so it works, but it's just awful, terrorist bunker ball as well, which the Portuguese managers are seemingly quite good at. So I'm glad that we moved away from that, and bringing in Roger Schmidt, I was immediately in favor of because I saw how difficult his side was PSV last season because Benfica had to get through them in order to qualify for the Champions League last season. Very, very difficult side. Benfica, I don't know how we got through that really, but it was just a heroic thing where we were down a man for most of the match in the second leg, et cetera, and we pulled it out somehow. And he does have that Red Bull DNA, which it also is very, very attractive to me. He was at RB Salzburg for a long time. He plays really high pressing, which is quite different from most teams in Portugal, as you had noted there, Dash. And so it's just nice to have something completely different to shake it up a little bit, especially domestically. It gives a lot of teams something to think about because at least the big teams, because most of the smaller ones still play quite defensively against us, regardless of how we're playing, But against a Porto or a Sporting or something, we just have this sort of different approach that I think is going to be difficult for them to sort of handle. And thus far, with our two tests that we had in the playoffs, we got through Midtjylland, I think 7-2 on aggregate, and we got through Dynamo Kiev 5-0 on aggregate, so all good there. Maccabi was more difficult than I expected, but like I said, so far so good. I think we've been the favorite every single time.
I gotcha. So my question is a little bit towards the Portuguese league as well. So like for example, in Serie A, whenever you're seeing like a Juventus versus, unfortunately, Salernitana. I don't really want to talk about yesterday's game, but or like even a Milan versus a Sampdoria, you tend to see like those smaller teams do almost kind of like either a 3-5-2 or like a 4-5-1 or like a 5-man back line. Is it the same way in Portugal as well? Because you guys are using, it's an interesting formation because I think it's kind of noted with a lot of German managers that they run a 4-2-3-1. So I was just kind of curious, like, because right now your guys' record overall, so 14 goals. I'm just looking at the Portuguese league. I'm not taking into account Champions League, but so you have 14 goals that the squad has scored, but you've only conceded 3. So defensively, you're holding up well. But like hypothetically, like for example, if you're playing like Santa Clara, that's 16th right now in the Portuguese league, are they coming at you guys with 5 men back, sitting, waiting on the counter, like normally what we see in Serie A?
Yes, absolutely. You get that really, really often with a lot of the teams, the smaller teams in Portugal. There's some that are a little bit better than that will just hurt you. Basically, the big difference I see between like, bottom of the table teams, mid-table teams, etc., is how good they are in transition, and if they have ways that they can hurt you in that regard, which is a way that you can hurt Benfica because of the way that we play this season. Especially against smaller teams, our line is much higher. So if they do have that quick outlet, that's how they could hurt us. But for the most part, yeah, it's Benfica trying to grind their way through a 5-man at the back or a very, very rigid and deep 4-4-2 that they have to try and claw chances through But yeah, that's mostly what we face regardless.
Mhm.
But this season, even more so because of how quickly we can hurt teams in transition. That's been one of the most notable sort of differences I've seen under Roger Schmidt. No one wants to get caught out against us.
I gotcha. So, and then is the 4-2-3-1 actually common with Benfica, or is this the first time that they're employing this tactic with you guys?
As of late, I would say like within the last 2-3 years or something like that. No, it hasn't really been that common. Mostly sort of a 4-4-2 is what we were playing last season for the most part. Previously, Jorge Jesus was playing three at the back because we were having defensive issues prior to his arrival. So we switched to three at the back to have three center backs. Plus, they were all old. We're talking Otamendi, Vertonghen, those kind of defenders at that time. So we needed sort of that solidity. But yeah, I would say that the 4-2-3-1 is new-ish to us this season, but so far so good. You know, it doesn't always resemble a 4-2-3-1 in practice, of course, but yeah, starting out each time with that 4-2-3-1 and the same sort of players as well. That's one thing I've noticed with Roger Schmidt is he hasn't really been one to rotate too often, which we'll see if that comes to bite us in the ass a little bit later on when our schedule gets crazy. But he's very much been running the squad as a meritocracy. So just because you're a young 18-year-old like, you know, Antonio Silva or center back, just because you're an 18-year-old, if you come in and perform, you're going to be given that next chance. It's sort of, you know, you play till you miss type of thing, which I kind of like, but I can see there being pitfalls in that as well.
No, I gotcha. So, hey, Massimiliano Allegri, if you were watching this podcast. So the one thing I also kind of want to hit at, so because you guys had a very interesting transfer window. So, like, for example, obviously Darwin Nunez gone. That's a big pain. Great player. He's off to Liverpool right now. But it's interesting because you guys brought in Julian Draxler. And then you also brought in not Darwin Nunez, David Neres from Shakhtar. And then I'm just because, you know, I'm based out in the U.S., you guys also signed John Brooks to a one-year deal as a backup center back. But it almost looks like you guys almost stocked up on the wings, and then you guys have a lot of faith in Musa and Ramos as your guys' number 9. So do you think Darwin Nunez leaving essentially kind of put your team like a couple more steps in the right direction, or do you think you guys are still missing someone like a Darwin Nunez?
I think that we're missing in quality depth in the attack.
Okay.
That's been the main thing, and that's why you saw us bringing in someone like a Julian Draxler so close to the end of the window there. It's because, and we had this issue last season as well, once we started making substitutions in the second half, we immediately started to look very poor, especially when it comes to creating chances and just a genuine threat in front of goal. So that's been an area where they've started to sort of build up on the wingers because of the way that Schmidt likes to play, and the wing play is very important, but he needs players that can also sort of attack through the middle as well. So yeah, I think that when Gonzalo Ramos is not suspended, which he has been domestically, which we immediately sort of suffer in front of goal, we look a little bit gun shy in front of goal. So if anything was to happen to him, then you're looking at Peter Musa, and you're looking at a young guy named Henrique Araujo, who is quite good. Very, very good young player, but he just hasn't been given enough opportunities. So I would say the striker position. Has Darwin Sale benefit us? Yes, because I like a lot of the business that we did this window. But, you know, I'm not going to lie. He was such a threat last season. It would be crazy to say that we are better off without him. But it also depends on what happens with Gonzalo Ramos. I don't know if you guys have looked at his numbers for the season, but they're very good so far. I think 6 goals and 4 assists and 10 appearances.
That's
not
yep.
bad.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's a really, really solid start. Yeah, the reason why, so I was a little bit curious because I'm wondering, did Julian Draxler come in because of Roger Schmidt per se? Because I'm wondering if there's like a little bit of a German connection because, and it's like, because the thing is you don't really, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Adrian, but like you don't really see a German player really go out to Portugal that often. I wouldn't say like a high profile player. I don't think Draxler is a high profile anymore, but yeah, it just kind of caught me by surprise because usually they tend to stay in the Bundesliga. They don't really go out too much unless they're going to the Prem.
No, you're 100% right. At least, like you said, coming to Portugal is not as common, at least has high profile, like you made note of. And it was probably the Roger Schmidt thing. And it was also maybe even Julian Weigl, who has since left us to go to Borussia Mönchengladbach. But Weigl was the other player that we signed from Borussia Dortmund a couple of years ago. And so we also signed Luca Waldschmidt as well, who since has gone back to Wolfsburg. So it seems like someone in the Benfica department is thinking, okay, there's a few Bundesliga players that are not necessarily getting opportunities at top clubs and are not getting therefore opportunities in the Champions League. That's something we can offer. So maybe that's sort of been the angle that they've been trying to play in that market lately, which I'm all for. Getting players like Julian Weigl was great while it lasted. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And Julian Draxler, I'm obviously very, very excited just because of the sort of profile that he had at a younger age. And we really haven't seen enough of that since then because he's been just a bench boy at PSG, unfortunately. So, yeah, I would say that Schmidt helps. And this sort of swing towards German talent, both on the pitch and in the manager position, is something I'm interested in. And it's sort of interesting to all of us because the Draxler signing came out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was kind of doing some studying on Benfica before this, so I just kind of wanted to make sure that I had all the bases covered. And I was looking at it, I'm like, I was like, that was interesting. I didn't expect Julian Draxler to be at Benfica. But again, it's no means of disrespect, but it's just something that like it almost like you look at it and you're like, oh, cool. There's another player, and I think Arriva Bene and Carabini might watch this stream. So if you wanna,
this is the
Alex,
one. This name has come up so many times. I don't know if
Yep.
you can guess it right off the bat here. Came up heavy this past Mercato, and you know we need fullbacks. Tell us about Grimaldo.
Okay, yeah, Grimaldo is a guy who has been a solid servant to the club. I would say in the last couple of years, his deficiencies in defense became a little bit frustrating, for sure, because he offers so much going forward. But so far this season, whether it's because we haven't been facing teams where we're on the back foot and we have to defend more, it hasn't been as apparent, his blunders in defense. And it's always things like losing track of a man at the back post, losing track of a run from the wide or something like that. It's never like giving away penalties or something. So it's always been easy to sort of look past those deficiencies. But so far this season, he has been excellent. Not only the improvements in defense, but going forward, I found that he's been one of our number one threats in the attack because of the way that Benfica sort of attacks with that 4-2-3-1. The three tend to tuck in behind the striker,
I get you.
leaving a lot of room for the overlaps. And Grimaldo's, always been known for his delivery from set pieces and his crossing ability and how he can strike towards goal. I'm sure everyone saw that goal he scored against Maccabi Haifa. But so far this season, there's been quite the link up between himself and Rafa. And Rafa is an interesting one as well because he's playing more centrally than he had in the past. Usually he'd play on the right and cut inside all the time for us. But Schmidt has been playing him as a 10 to sort of exploit that speed that he has through the middle. And so we're not just subjected to, attacking down the wing and very, very sort of predictable types of attacks. Sometimes Rafa will make those darting runs in behind that sort of go unnoticed and provide that threat through the middle. And that's what he's been doing and linking up with Grimaldo, especially lately. Those crosses from the left, and then Rafa arrives late in the box to sort of tuck it away.
Gotcha. So you mentioned defensive lapses. So on a scale of 1 to Trent Alexander-Arnold, how bad are they? No.
I mean,
I had to throw the joke there. It was just you were like defensive laps, losing guys behind him. Was like, okay, cool, here we go.
Yeah, that crossed my mind too, to be honest.
yeah, it is. When you think of losing someone at the back post, unfortunately, Trent, that's who comes to mind.
Yeah, that I won so much money on that. I bet a couple of friends about that, and they're like, "Oh, Real Madrid, Liverpool." I was like, "Yeah, I will bet $100 right now that Trent loses Vinicius behind his shoulder." And I'm just looking at as that happened. I'm looking over like.
Who's gonna pay up? Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. I mean, he's not been that bad. I don't think. I think that defensively he's better than Trent Alexander-Arnold. I can say that pretty confidently, actually.
Okay, great.
So those are positive words. I mean, that instills me with a bit more confidence because, I mean, unfortunately, when you don't watch these players every single game like how we do with Juventus, I mean, your biases get swayed a lot more easier, I suppose. Like when you have a naysayer out there, right? And there are a few naysayers. There's people out there like, no to Grimaldo, absolutely not. I want to hear nothing about it. And that kind of seeps in a bit. And I feel, within the community, because obviously there's people out there in the community that can influence more than others. As you know, like you are one of those that influence more than others, correct? So, yeah, I just feel like there might be some undue hate for Grimaldo, and probably not on very good basis either.
No, I don't think so. I think that, as you guys know, as you are seeing currently with your own fan base, people swing violently in either direction with things, right? And I think a couple of mistakes and all of a sudden you're the mistakes guy. And that sort of happened with Grimaldo at one point. And I think that it's been a little bit unfair with how he sort of served the club. And it certainly helps his perception with the fact that he's such a good professional and he's been constantly linked away from us, but for one reason or another, he hasn't pushed for a move when he's had teams like Manchester City or Arsenal or Barcelona, whoever, coming for him. So I think that we all sort of appreciate that in him as a professional, and that definitely helps how you're sort of perceived as a player overall. Does he make mistakes now and then in defense? Of course he does. That happens a lot with modern fullbacks. But he has given so much to the club and he provides such a threat going forward that it's much, much, much easier to overlook. And we don't have anyone else who's really been able to wrestle that starting spot away from him. Whether that's a lack in quality signings, you could probably argue that. But I think it says a lot about how he's been basically the main guy for years now at Benfica.
What's the likelihood then, after saying that he shows up either this January or even next summer?
That he leaves?
Yeah, leaves and comes to Juventus, yeah.
Oh.
Or anywhere for that matter,
or anywhere,
yeah.
I do believe, and you guys can fact check me on this, but I do believe that he is in the final year of his contract. Or it's either this is his final year or the next year is his final year. I can't remember, but it does certainly feel like it's coming close to the end, if I'm remembering correctly.
Here's the thing, Adrian. So like Juventus transfer strategies are, if a player's in his last year or year and a half, if we're linked to him, like you should automatically know, oh, this guy's at the end of his contract. That's why Juve's looking at him.
Yeah, it's so true. Now that you mentioned that.
Yeah. There was a video out on that too, saying how we were like the kings at free agency, and then after they kind of like baited us, and they're like, and look at all these crap players in Ramsey and Rabiot.
And then it's funny because like the thumbnail is Aaron Ramsey. So
yeah. Well, was that in the same summer, Ramsey and Rabiot?
Yeah. So it was. So here's the funny backstory about that was, so Ramsey, this was before Sarri was even hired in as a coach. So like it was January of 2019, and literally, so like we did the pre-contract, the agreement. This was when literally not even 2 months after Morata left or was ousted, and Paratici came in and took over as the sporting director for Juve. Literally, his first marquee signing was to overpay Ramsey as a free agent, and then he went on to overpay Rabiot. Because the thing is like, so what happened was, and I also think this was also what happened in the De Ligt deal in 2019, because I think Juve fans will leave 2019 as the instead of the summer of love, the summer of nightmares, because like the thing is yes, we like De Ligt, but that contract was atrocious for what the wage bill was. So like for example, with Rabiot, like we were gonna get him, and then Barcelona comes in on it, and then Veronica Rabiot, the person that we all know and love in Turin, just kidding, but she was like, hey, they're offering me this. And then she's like, all right, cool, I'll offer you $1 million more. And she's like, sold. And then it's the same thing with De Ligt as well, because I think, and I kind of blame Barcelona for this, because I think Barcelona baited us hard, and she's like, all right, whatever. Because like there wasn't like the contract set up for De Ligt, like 12 million is insane for like what our wage bill is. So it's like, even back then, like, great player. I'm not knocking the player at all, but like you look at the finances in some of these contracts that were offered, it was absolutely atrocious business by Paratici. So it's like, we used to be per se the free agent hustlers, but I think that was more so during Morata's time, where we're able to pick up these free agent like pieces, not starters. And the thing is like, I don't know what went into Paratici's head where he's like, all right, cool, I'm going to get like starting quality players as free agents. And De Ligt's not included because De Ligt was an actual purchase, but like with Ramsey and with Rabiot, where it's like, I think in us as a club too, we lost sight of why these players are free agents. Like there's kind of a reason behind it. And the thing is like, you can make the same argument about Di Maria and Pogba, but like the jury's still out on it just because the season's still young and Di Maria and Pogba haven't played as much.
Or at all. And
at all.
Yeah.
At all. But like, it's interesting because back then with Beppe Morata, when we won the 9 straight, like it was more so we did free agent deals on like Martin Carreras, or like not players that you're expecting to do what you needed to do. Like we purchased Higuain, we purchased Dybala, like those were your main starters. We purchased them, but we also like contract wise, it kind of made sense. The only time we started being really lax or loose with our contracts was when Ronaldo came in, because the thing is like, great player, record setter, arguably the best striker in history, but financially, Ronaldo was the biggest pain in the butt ever because the salary that he commanded, and then essentially it's a trickle down effect because like everyone, even Dybala that year was like, "Oh, I want a $20 million salary," and we're just like, "No." I'm like, "You're not even on the field to get five." But anyways, but like the thing is like it trickled down because like originally it was Chiellini that was your highest earner at the time, and he even was willing to take pay cuts. But then Ronaldo comes in, and our wage bill is absolutely like you have 30 million, and then you go all the way down to 6.5, and that's like 6.5, 7, and that's Dybala. Well, and then you bring in Delict at 12, but that's if he achieves his bonuses. But I always thought that the bonuses were easy to achieve because that's
Yeah,
why
it's
Brig
even still, it's in that 10 plus range. Easy.
yeah, so like Delict, so it was like Ronaldo and then Delict, and then it was Dybala because Chiellini essentially took a wage cut towards the latter end of his career, and like that's just such a weird thing because then when you have that, and then like for example, the summer of 2019 happens where you have that huge gap between Dybala and Ronaldo because Higuain was on loan to Milan and Chelsea respectively. Then you have Rabiot and you have Ramsey that are like, well, hey, these guys have money to spend, and then boom, you get those like inflated salaries. The thing is, and also, the COOF pandemic that happened didn't help us out either. And essentially, that's kind of what was like the final dagger in the Ronaldo project. But I understand what the club wanted to do with Ronaldo, but like at the same time, it was just, I think it was bad execution because like Murata was one of those folks that didn't want to do the Ronaldo project at all. It was more so Paratici and Agnelli that kind of orchestrated the Ronaldo project, and it kind of clearly look at it now, it bit him in the face. But yeah, I kind of wish we got rid of that free agent or home per se for Juventus because free agents are good to get those supplemental pieces. I don't think they're great to build your squad around.
Well, here's a question then, as a Portuguese Benfica fan, what have you. Ronaldo being Portuguese, do you take him on your team? If you guys can afford him hypothetically, do you put him on your team?
In this team, probably not. Just given how much we press, I don't know if that would work. I don't know if you guys saw Manchester United versus Real Sociedad the other day, but he just looked busted trying to run around the pitch out there. It just clearly, like, he looked like a 37-year-old man, as unfortunate as it is to say. Maybe you could argue that he hasn't had enough playing time and that he needs to, gradually build up to it, and he'll get to better fitness soon as the World Cup comes around. But I don't know. Of course, he's always. It's kind of ridiculous to say no to that, because if you can afford him, having Cristiano Ronaldo in this Benfica side, I mean, yeah, obviously yes. But if it's at the expense of how Benfica are playing currently, then I don't know if I'd really want to mess that up.
And it's at the expense of basically the mentality of your team, as we have witnessed in Man United. I mean, I don't even know what's going on there.
Yeah.
All of us are shaking our heads at that club right now.
Absolutely. And I think that there's this sort of like Ronaldo effect that happens subconsciously amongst the players, where they just sort of default to trying to get the ball to him in the attack, partially because he screams for it, and you see him slapping his arms at his side when he doesn't get it and stuff like that. And so it's sort of like out of fear that they're trying to pass to him. But whatever the reason may be, it's not very conducive for a dynamic attack, really. And you see that happen with Portugal. You saw that happen with Juventus. You've just seen it happen at United at times. And so I think that right now I'd rather not sort of mess that up at Benfica, even though it sounds so stupid to say no to Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, Juve had some of their best games without him. Portugal as well. And United didn't win their first game until he was benched. So, I mean, what does that say?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if this was Ten Hag that said this, but it was someone on the Manchester. I saw this quote on Twitter, and they were saying that Ronaldo essentially offsets their attack because the thing is Ronaldo wants to ball at his feet at all times. So Ronaldo will then drop down, and the problem is how the play style that Ten Hag has it set up is like they go out wide, and then the wide man looks for the middle. But Ronaldo's already too deep inside, where then the wide has no one to give it to, and then there's an issue with ball distribution. And that's the thing is like that's a similar issue with Juventus when we had him as well. Was he was kind of all over the place, and then to be honest with you, and I said this in previous lives, I honestly think he was partially responsible for the downfall of Alexandro, because the thing is tactically, and as well as the left midfielder that would play behind him, because the thing is Ronaldo would never drop back, would never press. And usually most of the offense that would come out of Juve's left side for the past couple of years was Alexandro until they got Filip Kostic. Because the thing is if you think about it, Ronaldo doesn't track back, or he just gets caught out and literally just hangs up top. So then that means you'd have Sandro that would push up a little bit into the midfield to help compensate for that. And the thing is I think because, again, we didn't have a suitable backup for Sandro, I think we just ran Sandro's legs into the ground to the point where Sandro just, everyone would say he'd start off the season well and decent, and then like midway through it, his legs would die. And that's kind of like the same issue that we're experiencing with Juan Cuadrado right now, where a lot of people are saying like, hey man, this guy's legs are fried at this point. Because, he's a right back, he's a right winger, he's a right mid. And it's like, because the thing is like when Sandro first came in, Allegri used him as a left back, and it was a 1-2 dynamic with him and Patrice Evra. And then like sometimes he would improvise because we were using the 4-2-3-1 as you guys were, but this was when we were on that Champions League tear, when we unfortunately got absolutely demolished in the final. But but the thing is like Allegri would use him either as a left back or a left wing as a substitute for Mandzukic. But even then, like for example, having Sandro and Mandzukic on the left side of the field was great because Mandzukic would track back down and help Sandro out, which then gave Sandro a cover for him to go up and attack. Whereas Ronaldo, when you're pushing the ball forward, Ronaldo would run straight to the center of the box in the penalty spot and interfere with our center forward at the time. So and then it would just be Sandro all by himself on the left, and Sandro's, not the best crosser. But the thing is again, if someone heads the ball away, you're quickly shifted back on the counter. So that means Sandro has to run all the way back and tire his legs out. This was something that I made. Again, I'm not saying that I'm a full-on pundit that studies hours and hours of film, but I'm kind of curious to see how Sandro works with Kostic, because in the last three games, Kostic has supplied 3 assists. So we're getting play out of the left that's not entirely dependent on Sandro, because if you think about it, and I don't know how much of us you watched last year, Adrian, but we only attacked from the right side of the field. We did not attack from the left at all. It was very minuscule because Sandro couldn't either cross the ball or it would just be a lazy pass into the middle of the box. Mostly everything was either through Juan Cuadrado or whoever we had up on the right side, whether it be Dybala if he was healthy, or even sometimes Morata. So like we never really based our attack off the left side, where it's like now we're doing it. I think that's the one thing we can talk about Juventus this season. That's something that we normally don't see, and we haven't seen us over the years, is now we actually have an out ball on the left. And then the only thing now, ironically, is our problem is on the right wing now because Di Maria is out. Because I think Cuadrado is just really lagging behind just because of fatigue.
I think what I took away from all of that is blame Ronaldo.
That sounds it. It's Ronaldo torched Alexandro. It's over for him.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot take, but hopefully I got a hunch, but maybe it's 50-50. We'll find out in May.
By the way, quick question for you guys: is Di Maria going to be fit for this match?
They are saying yes. They're saying he will be fit. I don't know for how many minutes, because fit is a loose term. You can say Di Maria is fit, and then he comes in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, fit enough maybe to
So,
play. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not going to give him a full. I wouldn't even give him 70 minutes. I think he's lucky if he plays 60.
Yeah, I would say 45 at best, and this
Yep.
is just me being optimistic here.
I hope he doesn't show his face personally. Because I'm a huge Di Maria supporter. I really love the guy. Obviously, because he came through Benfica, of course, on his way to Real Madrid. But also, I just think that he's like a brilliant, underrated playmaker that could really hurt us with his passing. So I hope that he doesn't play.
And that's the interesting thing. All these guys that came out of PSG as well. I mean, we just packed up Paredes. He was probably a bit underrated. We won't get into Rabiot, but I mean, these guys that come out of PSG, I mean, they tend to be underrated, and this kind of just harks back to a little bit earlier. It's just who was it that we touched on earlier that we said was underrated?
Grimaldo?
Yes, of course, Grimaldo. Which, by the way, yes, next June is when his contract expires.
Okay. There you go.
But yeah, just the community. How we jump on this bandwagon with so many players, because Di Maria was another guy where so many people are like, no, absolutely not. He's not coming. He's too old. He's not good enough. And he shows up and he just completely unlocks his wing. Does Grimaldo do the same thing? Like that's what I'm super interested to see. And I mean, just a warning to all those out there. Just be careful who you listen to. Like even me, don't believe everything I say.
So the funny thing is, I think he doesn't want Di Maria to play because he might expose Grimaldo for not being defensively
Oh, maybe.
concentrated because he's
Yes.
technically on the same. His left is Di Maria's right, so
There you go.
wink, wink, wink. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Um,
That's the
you
reason.
know,
Or maybe he should play, and then we can embarrass Grimaldo, and then he'll stay at Benfica, and then it's a net win for us in the end.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But speaking of grossly underrated players, how about Adriak Milik? So we call him Milik Man here on the channel, just because it's just kind of like he
works.
delivers those goals. So we always mess around, just kind of like the Milkman, just delivering a goal for you. So we call him the Milik Man. We'll count just hypothetically counting yesterday's goal, hypothetically here,
Yes. Yeah.
because technically I'm not going to get into that, but no. 3 goals in about 3 games essentially for a guy that everyone we got a lot of Juventini got the pitchforks out for him. Davide and I weren't really too excited about him originally, but once it was just kind of like this was more so before we got Vlahovic, but now that we got Vlahovic. Davide and I were just kind of like, it makes sense because like if he's willing to come in and play as a backup with the amount of money, because this was like on the heels of the Depay fiasco that happened over the summer, and we're like, it makes sense. And then he scores the first time out, and we're just all like celebrating, like, yeah, we called it, everybody. We're the only YouTube channel that supported him.
Speaking of jumping on the bandwagon, we totally did that on that one.
Yeah,
but because Adrian, you do follow so much, I don't know how you keep the whole football world at that scope in your head. It's quite amazing. But yeah, no, it's just it's interesting to hear your perspective on Milik, just where he came from. What did he think?
Well, I mean, obviously he did so well at Napoli prior to that sort of crashing and him moving on to Marseille, but I kind of lost him in Marseille. I didn't think that he had lost all of his quality, but I did think that he was strictly just going to be a depth signing at Juventus, which he sort of is.
He is, yeah.
He definitely is. He's not been signed to start ahead of Vlahovic or something like that. So I guess he is technically a depth signing, but you're getting a lot more out of him, and he seems like a more genuine depth signing than, let's say, like Caicedo going to Inter last season. Like that, people forget that even happened. Like
that's a good point, because I did forget.
Yeah, like I'm questioning myself. Am I making that up? But I'm pretty sure it happened, and it was incredibly like underwhelming as you would have expected that signing to be. And so I didn't think that Milik was going to be that bad or that ineffectual, but I did not expect the sort of numbers that we've seen from him early doors. And it's looking like he's sort of back in that form that he was in when he was banging them in regularly in Serie A, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my only thing is as long as we keep his minutes low and just keep him out of the risk of getting injured, I will take hip thrust goals, head tap-ins, anything like that. I am perfectly fine with it because we spoke with Adam Digby a couple weeks ago, and we're saying, and I kind of illustrated this where I was like, Milik is a change of pace striker because, like, for example, Vlahovic is like your big bruiser that, again, he sticks to your center back, and it's just, it's just a tug of war with your center back and Vlahovic, where Milik will drop in deep, facilitate the ball out to the wings, and then it's easy for center backs to lose sight of him because, like, even the game against Salernitana with that goal that he scored, and then plenty of other things like with the goal against Fiorentina, as well as you'll notice, and same thing with Spezia, these center backs, they're so used to Vlahovic, and then the second you put in Milik, where Milik has the same number 9 potency as Vlahovic, I'm not saying that he's a better 9, but like the same kind of essentially mental IQ for the position, but he's shiftier than Vlahovic. So it's like 1 minute as a center back, you're like, okay, cool, he's in the middle of the field, and then all of a sudden you see the ball get sent out wide to Kostic, and then you look back in the middle and you're like, where the hell is Milik? And then Milik's already on your back shoulder passing you. So it's like one of those things where having a depth guy, and I really appreciate Milik for literally saying, I'm here to score. That's all I care about. Like you can tell that he physically wants to be here and play for the club, which, we can make the argument over the past couple of years, we haven't had players that loyal. We've had, some snake eyes and some stuff like that, Dybala. But anyways, like you'll have players like that, but like having a player that genuinely is doing it. Cause like, for example, for him to even come in front of the center back against Salernitana last night, to even get that flick on goal it's something, it's perfect. Like, I mean, that's something that you want. You come in and that's all you can ask for a backup. It's almost like, and I think it might be too soon to say it, but like, for me, it's like Vlahovic and Milik are almost like Zapata and Muriel, where it's like, They kind of have the same idea of how they play as a striker, but like you guys can see that Muriel is a lot more shiftier than Zapata. Like Zapata is like essentially your big hunky target man. Or say it's the same thing with Vlahovic. I just Vlahovic can score free kick goals, which is pretty awesome as a striker. Uh, but like again, you bring in Milik, which is like almost like Luis Muriel, where he comes in, he can do some movement, some passes, and then score a goal. Like even the game against PSG, even though he hit it at Donnarumma, unfortunately, and like there was a back heel that Vlahovic did, and Milik just wasn't unfortunately able to read it. But like it's interesting because like the thing is like if those two are able to get on the same page, it also will help out as well. So like it's just Milik. Milik to me is like Milik and Vlahovic are almost like a younger Zapata and Muriel for us.
I mean, I can see that, and just to expand further on it, it's sort of like something, not your favorite person in the world, I'm sure, but what Mourinho was saying when he was at Manchester United, and the reason why he did the baffling thing of throwing Marwan Fellaini on towards the end of the match all the time is because it just gave defenders something completely different to think about, because you had a more dynamic forward that was making these crazy runs, and then all of a sudden you had to deal with someone whose movement is a little bit, I wouldn't say movement is better, but he provides that aerial presence at least. And Milik has the aerial presence plus the sort of IQ in the box to sort of find space for himself and get on the end of these crosses. So yeah, it's absolutely a damn good signing, and it makes sense as to why it's been working for him in these sort of little cameos that he's been getting.
Oh, for sure.
So somewhat off topic. Where do you get on? I guess they can't see. I see it on my screen, but when they watch your channel, they know your RTV neon light there. Where do you get something like that?
Oh, that was off of Etsy. It was actually a gift.
Oh, yeah?
A gift that was given to me, but I
Nice.
believe that the person got it off of Etsy. I can rotate. There we go.
Yeah, it's sweet. I like that.
There it is.
There
Yes.
you go. Do you know if that was like local? Canadian?
I don't think so.
He's Canadian too. There's two of us today. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I don't think that it was local. No.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I'm the American in between the Canadian pieces of bread.
Manx sandwich. And yeah, it's cool. You actually only live a few hours away from me. You're in Montreal. My sister lives there as well, so that's super cool.
Yeah.
And one thing I kind of wanted to touch on too, just as a bit of an aside, I watched your video there on basically Canadian soccer, as we call it, soccer, and just your story. It felt like my story in so many ways that I really hit home, and I love that particular video so much, and just that. And even though we might be like second, third generation, whatever we may be, we still have that connection, that want to kind of connect back with where our parents or our grandparents came from. And football is one of those ways that we do that, and it is so rewarding because you have that connection, and it's just so cool how you kind of have the same trajectory as me. And you just had to find that team, because I wasn't born into Juventus. I was born in the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
I don't know because you're originally from Vancouver Island, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I don't know. Were you like a Canucks fan, or are you a Montreal fan?
Yeah, I was definitely watching the Canucks grow. I would say when it comes to hockey, it's the Canucks for me. But
Okay.
In MLS, funnily enough, it's Montreal.
Okay, yeah. Because you did comment on our derby there last week, because I'm a TFC fan as well.
Yes.
Big Bernadeschi supporter, as everyone kind of knows now.
Yeah, and everyone's becoming Bernadeschi supporters, I think.
I know,
That guy's
it's,
been fun to watch, both on and off the pitch.
I want to say
Yeah.
his Instagram page is probably one of the most entertaining things right now. The whole Bernadeschi, because we're talking about this, and he has the board where it's like the only 3 words he knows in English. It's come on, let's go, and all for one. And hey, so Beppe is here, everyone. Ciao, Beppe. How are you? How are ya? We miss ya. So thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, apparently Adrian's canceled, and we didn't get the memo. So
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So I guess we've gone against the stream here, but yeah.
KFC or TFC? I think Beppe's got a hankering for some fried chicken right now.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But yeah, and that's interesting because like the thing is like Bernadeschi, almost kind of like Sebastian Giovinco, almost had like a resurgence going to the MLS. We can make that same argument for Ricky Puig too in LA. So
Yes.
I know, and this might be a little bit off topic, but I've heard Ricky Puig say in an interview saying that I hope that more like European players either go on loan or like do some stints if they're not hacking it with the big teams. I'm all for it because that might actually give me more incentive to buy an MLS ticket because I'm not known for watching MLS games, but
They're actually not bad to watch. Some
yeah.
of them
No.
are not great, but when the teams are fighting, yeah, they're
So,
good.
so small little side story, and we'll get back to some Juventus stuff. But I had a friend of mine that was in Orlando, and he went to the Florida Derby with Orlando FC and Inter Miami, and he was telling me he was like, it was nuts. He's like, I'm not saying it's like an Inter and Milan derby, but like he was like, I did not expect this because him and we've seen games overseas, in Italy per se, also some Premier League games, and like, the atmosphere there is second to none. But it's like, it's interesting because the thing is I'll say this as like a final tidbit for it. Don't sleep on the MLS atmosphere, guys, because I think MLS is slowly rising. I mean, it's not as dead as people think it is.
Well, I can say, and I got tickets to TFC when it was supposed to be Insigne's first game. It was July 9th we went. Obviously, that didn't happen. Bernadeschi hadn't shown up yet. We had Crescito. So that atmosphere wasn't there quite yet. But I've had the pleasure of being able to see pretty much every Toronto team. And Toronto was very corporate, very white collar. So especially like you go to the Leafs, massive franchise, and the stadium's almost dead. There's a few drunk guys up in the nosebleed, sure, but the atmosphere isn't there. You go to the TFC and you watch the MLS, the atmosphere is 100% there, and you feel it, and you hear the beat of the drums, and you're into it. And yeah, it's huge. And I don't care what anybody says. As North Americans, fans of football or soccer, you get made fun of constantly from your peers all the time. And you're always defending the sport. But I'm telling you, man, this is real. It's bigger than all of us, and I'm loving it. And I'm going again on the 30th, and hopefully Bernadeschi is gonna bang in 2 more penalties. I don't care how he does it. Penalties, free kicks, just rippers from 35 yards out. I'll take them all, Berna. Let's have it.
Come on, well done, well done.
But I mean, yeah, the atmosphere in the MLS match, I mean, it's dependent on what city you go to, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
I can speak to Montreal, of course, because also the supporter group has been allowed back into the stadium for one, which is great. Their section was a little bit quiet for a while because there was a dispute due to, pyro and other things. But they're back. So the Montreal atmosphere, I would say, is one of the best atmospheres I've been in. And that's when we play at Stade Saputo, our main stadium, with all the ultras, the banners, the tifo. There's everything you would want. It feels very much like a European experience. And then also in the big matches, if anyone wants to see how insane it can get, just search Porter, Montreal, Pachuca. Crazy goal in the last minutes to go through the CONCACAF Champions League. The most insane atmosphere I've ever been in my life. I feel like I lost my hearing for days after that. So there's absolutely something to be said about the fan atmosphere that is rapidly improving. And like you were saying, the signings that are being made. Ricky Puig going to LA Galaxy. You're seeing younger and younger players coming out of South America all the time that are signing, that are then moving on to big leagues in Europe. I think it's definitely all trending in the right direction, and the matches itself are getting much better as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we've peppered you about Benfica for a while. It's your turn to try to pepper us on Juventus. We'll try to give you some insider knowledge and some insider trading, but you can't take it to the bank just yet. Fortunately, Juventus does have, and it has had a tendency this season to absolutely take any kind of thoughts and predictions that we had and turn it sideways and shove it where. So
I mean, what would you say is your guys' biggest weakness at the moment? Is it scoring goals? Is it defensive lapses? Where would you say? Is it midfield still?
You go ahead, Davide.
Yeah, sir. I would just say the midfield passing, the outlet. And that could even go back to the defense. We don't really see it getting played out of the back that effectively either. It's just there between the 3 sections of the field, like the defense, mid, and forward, there's some sort of disconnect. And you see that heavy with Vlahovic not getting service as well. So, yes, obviously the midfield gets the brunt of it. They're supposed to be the metronome for the team. So, ultimately, most of the burden lays on their shoulder. But it's really sort of the whole team. They're lacking those crisp pass. Yeah, just the connection. They can't connect the play together.
Yeah, so and then I'll build on this, and I'm gonna go a little bit more outside of the actual like field of play, Adrian. I'm gonna say right now it's the team psyche, because the thing is I'm not too sure how familiar you are with the Salernitana game that happened last night, but
I was watching. Yeah,
I got you. So outside of the referee, out of that baloney that Sky Sport has better VAR lines than VAR, I said it here, but uh,
it's true.
so yeah, so the thing is my issue is in for 18 minutes prior to the Kandreva handball. We were playing aggressive. We were pressing. We were playing, we were playing like Juventus should play. And then the goal happened, and then we completely bottled up. This is something that I've seen consistently. This has gone from, and I'm going to say maybe Allegri 2018 to Sarri to Pirlo to Allegri again. Where, for example, the game against Ajax in the Champions League, where Joe Cancelo made that stupid defensive error and it conceded to Ajax tying the game when we were in Amsterdam 1-1. Like little lapses like that, where the team absolutely just freezes and loses confidence in itself. We saw it here with the mistake that Cuadrado had that led up to the goal being scored by Salernitana, and then the team kind of freaked out. Like we looked frizzled, dazed for about until the end of the first half. Because like for example, it's almost like we play not to lose versus going in and imposing who we are. Like we'll press, we'll attack, and then it's like we almost like kind of play conservatively. You can say it might be a killer instinct in the final third. I mean, I don't disagree if you wanna accuse it to that. But like the thing is like that frustrated me more as a Juventus fan is that it took 2 goals for us to wake up in the second half to actually bring the game to Salernitana. And it's like again, and I don't mean to disrespect Salernitana in any way, shape, or form, but Juventus shouldn't be in that position where we're down 2-0 at halftime against them at home. And the thing is it kind of frustrated me against PSG a little bit is like it took 2 goals for us to sit there and not be afraid. Because the thing is like we're arguably one of the top 5 clubs in the world as far as like, history and everything. So it's like, why are we I don't understand how some of the players have shifted. I don't want to say to a small team mentality or anything like that, but like the team, and it could be Allegri, but even like it even happened under Sarri as well. So like we can't even say that it's just one coach because like for example, Benevento with Pirlo. So we played Benevento at home, and Arthur made that stupid sideways pass that got intercepted. Benevento went up 1-0 and ended up winning that game 1-0. So it's like this issue has been going on. It doesn't matter who's in the dugout. Like we've seen things like this all the time, and it's just one of those things where like for me it's like I don't know if it's a confidence issue. I don't know, what the team is afraid of because like for example, the first Allegri stint, we would go in, nobody wanted to play
You,
us.
you should be afraid. The boss is here. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just gonna slide him in.
I gotcha.
Hey, he's muted.
So basically, what I'm taking from that, before Farhad gets in here, what I'm taking from that is Benfica needs to press high, keep you guys pinned in, and try to score one in the first 20 minutes or so to sort of shake that confidence completely.
Yep.
With the whole PTSD, oh no, not again, it's happening
Yeah.
again for you guys.
Well,
Basically.
because the thing is that it's a consistent issue. Because, like for example, if you study any of the games, like for example, the Fiorentina game, the game that ended up being 1-1. So, like for example, we go from McKennie shooting it at the goal or losing the ball when he had a one-on-one opportunity with the goalkeeper, him missing, and it being a corner kick, and then for us having a defensive lapse on covering that corner kick, then it going to 1-1, and then Juve is like we essentially mentally switched to the hey, we're playing not to lose mentality. And it's super frustrating because like the thing is like even the second goal or the penalty that went to Salernitana, it was a botched defensive play off a corner kick that Salernitana hit us with the counterattack. So it's stuff like that where like the team, if we get caught off out of position or anything like that, or for some reason mentally they just kind of like seize up per se. So like for example, I'll even throw a sorry example here. So the Champions League against Lyon, the round of 16, play really well, concede a stupid penalty, team freezes, and then essentially we try to force a comeback with like not even 10 minutes left in the second leg. Porto's another example of this situation too under Andrea Pirlo. Come out well in the second leg. We are even the first leg where we lost 2-1. I mean, we make a stupid error with Bentancur giving the ball away. They score, and then we essentially go into a shell, and then Chiesa was able to salvage that last goal out of nowhere. And then even the second leg against Porto, where mentally, again, we're playing well, we're pressing Porto, we're about to score, Demiral concedes the penalty. We can even use Villarreal last year. Again, defensive errors with Rugani conceding that goal. Villarreal gets back into the game or essentially takes the lead on aggregate, and then we just never could come back. There's just those lapses of concentration. And, it's easy to say that it's the manager. I mean, I would say right now, mentally, it's a 50-50 split between the players and the manager. Like, the thing is like, it's extremely frustrating that we need to be put in a comeback situation for us to, like, seriously kick it into a high gear, because, like, second half against PSG, second half against Salernitana, we're going in there, we're finding space, we're going and we're doing work. It's just, why can't we do that from the first minute and also finish?
Well, speaking of coming in last minute, showing up clutch, we got Farhad here. How you
done?
doing? Yeah, Dash goes off the rails. He's done.
No. I meant that. Are you guys close to finishing the episode?
Oh, yeah. Well, soon
my-
enough. Yeah, we're
What's up,
closing
Adrian?
in.
Welcome,
Good to
man.
see
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
thank
Thank you for having me.
This is awesome.
Dude,
This is our first
we're-
floor panel too.
Yeah, we're a young channel. Thanks for helping Dave out. Appreciate you. Talking
course.
to Sam. I literally came from the gym. I turned on the TV, YouTube, have my apple and some almond butter after the gym, and I'm like, whoa, dude, I can totally do this right now.
Nice. Yeah, we're glad he can make it in.
Cool, man. Thank you, dudes.
I have a question for you guys, actually. So, have you actually played any teams that play this sort of high pressing or even gega pressing type of football that Benfica plays, or will this be a new one for you?
Fiorentina. So
Okay.
Fiorentina. So Italiano does employ that high gegenpressing style. Outside of that, no, we haven't.
Nothing too heavy.
No,
Not yet this year,
yeah.
anyways.
Because, like, even when we played Roma with Mourinho, it was weird because he kind of sat back. Roma's kind of weird with how they play. But, like, as far as like an all-out press, Benfica is going to be the only one that does it. Again, recent memory of teams that did a Gegen style press was Villarreal last year in the Champions League. We all saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
So right now, because the thing is and this is where I think Paredes is going to be interesting. This is the one thing I'm a little bit curious, because Juventus struggle on a gegenpress because they don't have someone that's composed and can deliver an out ball to the wings. Because the thing is how do you counter a gegenpress? Your wingers, essentially. But the thing is you need a very, very confident regista or conductor to dictate the play.
We
So,
arguably have that now, though.
yeah, arguably we do. So the one thing is I'm curious to see if Paredes can catch Grimaldo offside or out of position so he can slot Di Maria. No, but the thing is I'm curious to see how Paredes is able to unlock Benfica's press, because building out from the back and being able to slot the ball through, because the thing is that's what Pjanic did back in the day with us when he played as a regista. He was essentially the out-and-out ball player. So we didn't have something like that last year and also the Pirlo season. So I'm kind of curious, because the thing is Paredes isn't at 100%, because again he just came in about a week and a half ago and he's still kind of learning the system, learning the Juve way and all of his teammates, and it's going to take time even though you're a professional. But I think for you, Adrian, the person that you want to watch or man mark is going to be Paredes. You shut Paredes down, I think Juve crumbles to the press.
Yeah, that's sort of seeming what it sounded like. I mean, I'm curious to see how Benfica even lines up, because like I was saying to you guys, this is our first real big match of the season, and so far it's sort of been a let's make everyone else.
Are we can't be the strongest team you've played this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, by name alone, yes, for sure. On name alone and sort of reputation, but yeah.
Yeah. I like how I'm going through the comments. I like that one of the comments is just Allegri. It's like it can be an answer to anything in Juve right now. I was tweeting hashtag Allegri out, and people actually, we got one. We finally got one, because I feel like it's such a stupid thing to say, but now I'm all in, because
Yesterday ruined
the game
you.
was an embarrassment, man. It was such an embarrassment. Going down 2-0. Ah, man.
Yeah, it was not a good look, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see if we go with this 4-2-3-1 high pressing, same as always, let's make everyone play our game type of style, or if we're going to surrender the ball a little bit and see what you guys can do against
But
the lower block.
sorry, but why would you guys change that if you see that actually working?
That's-
And if you look at the last 4 or 5 games,
Yeah.
if your coach is doing any sort of homework, you're like, oh, we can totally just run around them, circles around them.
That's the thing is that, and this sort of goes into something that I was saying earlier, is that Roger Schmidt likes to stick with what's working when it comes to player selections, as well as his approach to things. So I can't really see him looking at how Juventus has been performing this season and saying, guys, we need to take a step back here. I think it's going to be very much, let's go for the jugular. This is a team that can be shaken. So I would expect Benfica to play how they've played all throughout this season, but who knows? It's this, new manager. First time we play a, big team on paper, I'll say, as far as I was sort of putting out. And so
I'm
we'll
just
see
looking
how
at
we
where we're
approach it.
playing because I'm a terrible Juve fan. I don't know where.
So we're playing in Turin. So
Yes, the
it
home
will
game.
be-
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I mean, hey, Salernitana came in and tried bossing possession, so it wouldn't surprise me if Benfica tried doing the same. So I think we have a question from Punasara from the beginning when we were taking in questions. So he says, let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. So it says, with the players that you have now, what formation would you choose with any tactical reason? So you want to go ahead and do the Benfica, and then we'll follow up with Juve.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that, like I was saying, with Roger Schmidt, it's very much a meritocracy. And so I would expect it to be the same sort of thing. Vlachodimos in goal, left back Grimaldo, Otamendi, and Antonio Silva, the young guy, the 18-year-old who's been performing incredibly well. We haven't seen a young defender come through that has looked this confident and this comfortable since Ruben Dias. So he's looking really, really good. And then right back is where you could either put Gilberto, who provides a little bit more of a goal threat, seemingly, which is kind of weird. He sort of arrives late in the box. He likes to really get forward. Whereas Alexander Ba, who I prefer, just adds a little more defensive solidity, and his delivery is really good from the right. So questions there, but it'll either be one of those two. And then in the midfield, Enzo and Florentino, I expect to start. Enzo Fernandez has been, I think, one of the signings of the summer. He's been incredible for Benfica. Sort of plays like an 8, but him and Florentino are sort of strange because sometimes Enzo will drop deep and they'll utilize his ability on the ball, similarly to what you're hoping is going to happen with Paredes, to sort of, be the conductor at the back. But he also likes to get forward and sort of arrive at the edge of the box, and he's really good at finishing from there. So Enzo and Florentino is just, he breaks up play. He gets rid of the ball really, really quickly and lets other people handle the advancing of the ball. And then the three ahead of those two would probably be João Mario, Rafa, and then on the right, David Neres, who's come in and given us a real threat down the right, finally, someone who can beat people in one-on-ones and then has a really good delivery. And then up front, I would say it's Gonzalo Ramos. He was suspended domestically, so he's nice and fresh coming into this game, and I'm sure very, very hungry to continue on this great season that he's having.
Cool. And then for our side, it's probably, obviously, we're going to probably have Bremer and Bonucci as your center back pairing. On the right, I'm thinking Danilo's probably going to start, as well as Alexandro on the left. Notable outs that we have is going to be Locatelli and Rabiot. Both are out for Benfica. So we're probably for sure going to see Moretti in the midfield with Paredes. The right, I'm curious because I think McKennie might start. I don't see anyone else that'll probably take him. I don't think Fajoli takes him out of the starting position. So I think it's going to be McKennie. And then,
Say that too.
yeah, and then at the top, you're going to have Kostic on the left. I think he's starting to find his stride again. 3 assists in the past 3 games. So I think you run him right now because he's starting to get a little bit hot. And then the top, I'm kind of curious because I wonder if there's going to be any rotation because for say depending on limiting Vlahovic's minutes because Milik is suspended for Monza. So I wonder if it's going to be Vlahovic for the first half and then Milik in the 60th minute or something like that. I'm not too sure, but Allegri does think of squad rotation a lot. I mean, he does do some really weird lineups per se because of it. So I think he might do that. And then on the right, I think it's probably going to be Di Maria for 45 minutes. And if he's able to kick on a little bit longer, he might, and then use Cuadrado as a super sub on the right. But the thing is that debacle last night essentially costed us Milik and Cuadrado because they have suspensions that they won't be playing at Monza. And then for everyone as well, Allegri will be suspended for Monza, so we get to see Landucci ball to all the people that remember the Roma game. But Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a 4-3-3 lineup. I think again. I
I
hate
have a quick
saying
question
this.
for our
Yeah.
guests before I dip out. Sorry, dudes.
Yeah, you don't have much time. Hit it.
me.
Um, Obviously, this is a young channel. We're trying to grow. You've been doing this. You don't know. No hard feelings. Give us a little pointers to our.
Tell us how we suck at this.
Hey, we'll take any friendly advice right now. Just trying to better the experience. Come on, be honest. Be honest.
No, I need to look at your thumbnails, etc. Let me look at the channel real quick because when did you guys start?
Looking at them too right now. You can see them, bro. Right?
Oh yeah.
What can we do as far as backgrounds?
You're talking about on camera, how you can improve your content.
Yeah, aesthetics a little bit.
I mean, so far so
judge
good.
our co-host.
So far so good. I mean, I haven't watched every single one of your lives, but maybe bringing up some graphics now and then, maybe something like that. I'm sure you guys do that every once in a while. You sort of bring up the starting
we
lineups
totally do
and
that.
passages
We
of play. And
we
blah,
do
blah,
a
blah,
bit.
blah.
We are improving on that. That's definitely a point of improvement.
Dave is awesome. No, Dave is awesome.
And I mean, if I always find is a lot of your content right now just like super long form.
No, we have lots of shorts. We got and I mean, you got to correct me on how to pronounce his name if I'm saying it wrong. Nilesh, is that right?
Nilesh.
Okay, yeah, he's ripping out shorts almost every day.
Okay.
So
because I would say consider doing some sort of not video essay style, but just sort of like article-esque type videos where maybe they're a little bit more edited, they have more images, etc. Maybe like your take on how Allegri could turn things around or something like that. Just little shorter videos, maybe around the 10-minute mark. So not necessarily a short, but not this long-form podcast style either. Something to sort of mix up the length of your content a little bit and can catch people who are trying to get answers for why Juan Cuadrado is so overused, or why Allegri is failing so much, or blah blah blah.
It's a short video. He's old.
He's that. Yeah, that's just a short. It's 5 seconds.
Yeah.
He's old. It's like Family Guy. I don't know if you guys watch that, the Blackie weather, and it's like it's raining.
Yeah,
That's
Holly
it.
with the weather.
It's raining. Yeah, I mean that's the
you.
only things that I would say. Really, some things to consider. And before I forget, one thing that people need to keep an eye on for this game in particular. This is a huge pivot back towards the game.
Yeah, totally.
Is the utilization of Julian Draxler. I have no idea if he's going to start. He could. He started the last match against Famalicão in Portugal, but that's against like a lower, a team that could be fighting relegation. So it's sort of the ideal time to sort of roll him out. I would assume, like I was saying, that he's going to go with what's worked thus far and have João Mario on the left. But it is Draxler, so he could force his way in there pretty quickly, depending on how training's going.
What was his knee injury?
Draxler's?
Yes.
I couldn't tell you. I haven't followed his injury record that closely, or at least the causes of his knee injuries.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I know I was looking at your guys' roster and it said that he was out with a knee injury back late September. So I was wondering, I'm like, did you guys sign him with a knee injury? Because like usually most apps that are knee injury, it's either meniscus, MCL, ACL, or anything like that. So I was just like, I'm surprised he passed a physical with a torn ACL or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was a loan move, so maybe they cared a little bit less about it, and I think that PSG may have taken the majority of the wages.
Oh,
but,
well, that makes sense.
So it makes a little bit more sense in that regard. But yeah, I know that he was carrying an injury this past summer for a little bit. But yeah, he played 45 minutes against Famalicão, and apparently he looked pretty good. I actually missed the first half, so I didn't see a single second of it. But he is at least training regularly and has been getting minutes now.
No, I gotcha. Cool. Alrighty. So Lars asked this question earlier. It's just unfortunately we didn't get to it at the beginning, but he said, who should Juve fans be afraid of from Benfica this Wednesday?
I would say in the midfield, Enzo Fernandez, because like I was saying, he's not only, the sort of pendulum in the midfield for us. He doesn't just cut up, opponents' passes, etc. He is a threat at the edge of the box as well, whether that's shooting from distance or arriving late or what have you. I would say him, but right now it's looking like Rafa, just because of the insane pace that he has. He's the outball alongside David Neres when it comes to Benfica transitioning. And he's been in great finishing form lately. His ability on the ball, also, if he has space to run at defenders with the ball at his feet, he is lethal. He'll fly past defenders easily. I would say him. Yeah, I would say that Rafa overall as a goal threat would be the one that you're going to want to watch very, very closely just because of his movement and how slippery he is through the middle.
Gotcha. Cool. So this one's going to be towards Farhad, Davide, and myself. So Talal asks us, hey guys, do you think this Benfica game is a vocal point for Allegri's future?
It seems, just because of the recency bias I think we're going to have on this one, that we're all kind of leaning towards yes. But no, I think it's just still too early, in my opinion, and we have
What's
to
focal
let
point?
this project
Does
go.
he mean focal point?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say like more so like a deciding factor. So like,
okay.
I think we can go at it. We can answer it in two ways. Do we think a Benfica loss is a sackable offense? If not, is he on a tighter leash or
Nah,
on a tight leash?
that bastard's gonna talk his way out of this one too.
I want to say if we lose,
bullshit us.
yeah, if we lose against Tafa, then I think that's sackable. If we lose against Benfica,
Yeah, I don't think so yet. It's. I mean,
yeah,
that's why we're not running the Juventus team, because people will fire him 2 games in. But no, right now it would be so silly, you know. No, I don't think so.
Who do you guys have at the weekend?
Monza. So their newly promoted side.
So a Benfica
So we
loss and then a failure to win against Monza. You think then the heat's on?
after what happened yesterday, man, it's on fire at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know about our president. Our president is very egotistical man, so that would be taking a huge L for him. He doesn't like to fire people, especially.
But El can though.
That's true. So
Because I don't know-
I read that too. Is that actually possible?
Yeah, well,
That's his
technically,
friend.
Elkin can tell Agnelli and Allegri both to beat it if he wanted to, because
He's the
essentially,
chairman.
yeah, he's the official chairman. Agnelli is essentially the president, but like, you could say that Elkin is in theory the CEO, because again, he's like the head honcho of EXO, or Exor, not
Exor,
EXO.
I
Yeah,
hope so,
Exor.
man, because I look at the lineup. That's one of the reasons I'm hashtag Team Allegri out. It's like you look at that delicious starting lineup. You know, we don't have the strong players back yet. You know, there's a bunch of injuries we're worried about. But you look at it, but like that mouth-watering starting 11, and then we're subjected to this dog shit of a game where it's like, when are we going to lose the ball? A goal is coming. We're no longer even praying for a clean sheet. I know we won a couple of games there with a clean sheet, but lately it's been a downhill again. It's again the last season all over again, and we've only strengthened the team. And it's just so sad to see. So bringing someone with some balls, bringing someone who can take the most goals out of the squad. And there's 3 or 4 goals at least a game with this team, and what we're witnessing now, like I said, man, it's freaking.
Three minus 1 goals a game.
Yeah, 3-1 goal.
I think I also read that Juventus wouldn't be inclined to get rid of Allegri because of the payout they would owe him. It's
Yes.
just like ridiculous.
Unless
that
we-
doesn't make sense financially.
Unless we don't make the Champions League, I think there's
Right.
I mean, but then that's disaster regardless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so the thing is like, and why we're kind of like in a rock and a hard place with Allegri is he's Agnelli's guy. Him and Agnelli are tight. Like that's a given. So like the thing is like Agnelli kind of was forced to fire him the first time and he didn't want to. So like for Agnelli to fire him again, you would think that Elkin would say, "Hey, you brought in your own guy again and it turned into a complete dumpster fire. I think you need to go too." So like the thing is, and I think I'm like, if Allegri's getting sacked mid-season, Agnelli's getting sacked with him. I think it's a 1-2 with them being gone, because I don't see Agnelli sacking him before the end of the season. If even if like Elkin forced him to sack him, it would probably be at the end of the season. Because there's one thing that Juve hasn't done, and we don't it's something that we don't really do, is fire a coach mid-season. That's just one of those things in history-wise that Juve hasn't done overall. So I think per se, and we've made this argument, is like if if we're 10, 12 points behind pace in January, I think he's getting let go at the end of the year. Just because he doesn't have an excuse. I think some people have also said it too, where like the grace period is like, say Milan's in front and we're, 4 or 5 points behind and it's January and you get Pogba, you get Chiesa, and you get everyone back fit. I still think that Allegri has a shot at keeping his job. But like, for example, if we're in 6th or 7th place coming into January, where we're behind, Lazio, Atalanta, Roma, even let's say Fiorentina, and Napoli, Milan, and Inter, if we're lagging behind them, and if our record against them is bad, I think Elkin steps in, and because Elkin stepped in with the Vlahovic deal, so it wouldn't surprise me that Elkin will step in again, just because again he green-lighted the purchase of Vlahovic last January, so I think he'll step in if you
do it, you got to do it now. It's barely beginning of the season; things can turn around. How's Benfica's relationship with their coach?
Relationship's great.
Trying to involve our guests. We've been talking about stuff.
No, the relationship is great because he only just joined us this past summer, and he hasn't dropped points once. So that's as good as it can get between the the president and the coach, I think, right now.
We have a job for him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of teams are going to have a job for him if this continues.
Man.
Unfortunately, we're used to letting go of our talent too early, but that would hurt to lose them this early.
So we are running a lot longer than usual, which it's fine. Everyone's engaged, everyone's commenting, which is awesome. But I know this is going to take a few minutes, and we forgot last time. We have to get our predictions in. Like, what's a pregame if we don't give our predictions? So we're not forgetting this time. So, Adrian, we'll start with you.
Just based on how I've seen Juve play this season and the way that Benfica has been playing this season, I think that it's actually going to be the opposite of what I would expect. So I think that we're going to have Juve actually scoring first and then Benfica coming back late in that second half. I think that Benfica might be a little bit shell-shocked, or at least will have difficulty dealing with a team with this caliber of players in it. Because, I've said this a million times, our first big test, basically. And I think that it could be a little bit slow. Gonzalo Ramos returning back into the side could be a little bit sluggish, but I think that they'll get it over the line in the end. Look, 2-1 away, that's bold, but
you got to be careful. L might be watching you.
Yeah, L's probably watching.
L's watching.
Disrespectful prediction.
Yeah, for those, we'll throw it up here real quick because I know more people have jumped in.
People that jumped in now.
And sorry, it kind of just goes over our faces. It's not the greatest, but so this is why Adrian's been canceled. This guy that goes by L because he's that cool. Adrian's canceled. So there you go.
Yeah, Farhad, to give you context, it was on my my preview for the Champions League group stage, and I actually backed Benfica to go through ahead of Juventus, and then that comment followed. I guess I didn't speak nicely enough about Mr. Allegri, and
what was that comment from?
It was from
my video. Lost a subscriber.
It was his YouTube video.
Yeah. I lost it. But maybe you guys have lost a ton too. So I apologize for that. If that happens. I don't know the kind of pull that L has in the.
What's going on around here, man?
We'll die on this hill together.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody suggested 1-1. There's no way that game is ending 1-1. There'll be like at least 3 goals, 3 or 4 goals. Yeah.
I would say 3 goals is a.
Oh,
is
another
a
1-1. Jeez.
Ooh. Benfica
73, Juve 1.
Hey, come on. I don't know about that. I think we could do at least 75. Come on, man. You're being harsh on us.
All from corners.
Yeah, all from corners.
We aren't the biggest threat from corners, so.
Oh, good.
That's
apparently we are.
Neither are we.
Also, Anthony, this is a side note, but Anthony, I saw your kind comment about the Canada video earlier. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Right there. No, it was honestly, it brought up the emotions for me as well. And YouTube doesn't typically do that, so definitely great job. Kudos to you for that one.
Thank you.
Farhad, what's your prediction?
I don't do predictions. Just I don't know. What's the point, right?
It's not your
too
thing.
Too much of a realist. Yeah. I hope everybody has fun.
This is the
I mean,
millennial speaking. I just want everyone to have fun, get a ribbon at the end of the day.
No, I just wanted 3 points. Like, what's the point of me saying 1-0, 2-0, 1-1?
Well,
you know,
Ed
2-1?
totally agrees with you here. 3 points for you.
No,
Just leave it.
exactly. I just want to win finally. It just, yeah. I don't know if it changes anything as far as like the locker room, as far as fans' relationship with the team. I think it's. Damn, Dave, put that shit on mute.
I know, sorry. I was just trying to answer the question. I do have to. Sorry about that.
What do you have? A typewriter?
It's a mechanical keyboard, so it's it has it's.
Is that the coding one? The different colors?
I don't know. It's white. There's my keyboard.
Jesus. Of
for
course,
all
it
these people.
lights up.
How do I see in the dark? Jeez. Okay, sorry, I put it on mute. I'm just trying to get that answer, the head-to-head.
I'm pretty sure that Benfica has won twice against Juve. And I don't know how many times we've actually met each other, but I'm pretty sure our head-to-head is 2 wins Benfica. I could be wrong, though.
Total matches 5.
Okay,
Juventus
I'm wrong.
1, Benfica 3, draws 1. So Benfica has,
I'll take it.
yeah.
Last time was
nice.
2014 or something like that in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, good memory.
Antonio Conte, I remember that game.
So does Pirlo, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
How'd you become a Benfica fan?
My parents are from Portugal. And then just through watching the national team with my dad, my dad wasn't necessarily the biggest football fan. Like, he followed it, but he didn't have a team that he watched that closely. He didn't really have that affinity because they're from the Azores. So there's no really big team. There is one now in the Primeira Liga, Santa Clara. They're probably the best team from the Azores. So he never really had a team, and I fell in love with Nuno Gomes, and that sort of was my gateway into Benfica. So that's how I became a Benfica supporter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
Lars Vercelli, you're not L, are you? Because, I mean, your thing comes up as L.
Conspiracy theory.
That would be fun if it is.
Do we have our first villain?
I know.
Yeah, I don't have any villains yet.
I feel like every podcast, every production should have a villain.
Yeah, it's L. It's L.
Well, there we go. L, which, I mean, you gotta have more of a name than that. That does not.
It's sort of like QAnon, you know? Like, it's who is
he-
L, really? He's
Yeah.
everywhere.
You guys haven't seen Death Note? L's a person.
Oh, I haven't
no,
seen
Anime
it.
reference, darn. I'm the
Oh,
only
you were the
person here.
anime. Jeez.
I know,
Yeah,
sorry.
speaking of dislikes. No, I think actually that's a big thing with
All
Juventini.
the
I don't
women
know.
who are watching left.
Oh, yeah, coincidentally, numbers just gone.
Yeah.
All right, boys, I got to run. Love you. Adrian, thank you
Yeah.
so much again. I hope we can do this again.
Yeah,
For
sure.
sure.
Of course.
And we're gonna shut this down pretty soon. Anyways, it's almost an hour and a half here, and Beppe is about to go on in a few minutes, so we're not going to encroach on his time slot. We're not
look
going
at you.
to beat those guys.
We got to crush the competition. What are you talking about?
He showed up. You missed him. He showed up for.
Yeah,
a
he
couple
was here
minutes,
for
yeah.
a little bit.
On screen?
Not on screen. No, in the chat.
Oh, that's cool.
He's
Yeah, he
so
shows
hurt.
up once in a while. It's a good
All right,
guy.
guys. Peace out.
Yeah,
Good luck.
thanks again.
Good luck
Take
on
care.
Wednesday.
All right, I actually wanted him. Whatever, he's got to go. The shirt. We always forget about the shirt giveaway at 500 subscribers. We're almost there. We just need over 50, 55 to be precise. I mean, Adrian, if you don't get me a few subscribers here, I think I'm hopeless at this point.
What he's saying is that he's actually L.
Yeah, he's. Oh, and 2K finally showed up. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, he is a bit of an Allegri.
Yeah,
He's a
I
bit
think
of
that's
a
fair.
guy.
Depends on how you lose. Okay, if it's another Salernitana-esque loss, then you can't really fault him, I get. Although, it's that weird thing, eh? It's like, condemn him for the performance, but then at the same time, it's like, well, you should have won, but
Yeah.
that doesn't make up for, what was it, like 80 minutes of suffering? Well, not even. It wasn't that long of suffering, but just too much suffering.
It felt long.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that is all in the past now. We are looking forward. 2 days away, guys. Benfica, Juve, and Adrian, thank you so much for helping us out with this one and really giving us a deep dive on the Benfica side.
Yeah, no
but
problem. It's my pleasure.
No, it's great. Before we sign off, though, do you have anything else you want to add?
No. Just that I hope we're, if anything, entertained, and it's
Yes.
not like watching, paint dry on Wednesday. Hopefully, it lives up to some of the expectations that it's going to be an exciting, attacking sort of match.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did not pay him to say that, guys.
No, that's all we ever really need as football fans. You're gonna lose a game once in a while. You just hope at the end of the day, it's a sport. You want to be entertained. So at the very least, please entertain us. Make my money worth it. That subscription to Fubo that completely just shits the bed constantly. I don't know, Adrian. What do you watch? Is it on Fubo you watch?
For Champions League, DAZN.
DAZN, yeah, but for the regular,
Yeah, I've got look, I've got them all, man.
yeah, I suppose you would.
have to watch a lot of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a few different streaming services going on right now. It's frustrating, but it's how you do it.
Does Fubo just like give up on you sometimes?
No, I have more issues with DAZN than I do Fubo. And Fubo actually has Benfica TV included, so you guys could be watching Benfica yourselves if you wanted to.
Oh, I gotta check that out. Yeah, they've really picked it up this year. I'm just lucky if I can get Juve, to be honest. There's times where I've had to go and get the not so great streams just because Fubo's like, no, not today.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is. That's the life we live these days. Subscription services, streaming services, what have you. I mean, technically, that's what we're doing. We're streaming at you. So, I mean, thanks for being part of the problem and the solution. Love you all. Adrian, thanks again so much. Sorry if you can get to some of the comments out there. Dash, I got to do the music thing, so
Do the music.
outro us.
Alrighty then. Is the music on? Oh, there we go. So like, I can either do it with like the deep seductive voice, or I could just do it normal.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it normal.
Deep seductive.
Deep it,
seductive.
deep
All
it.
right, cool. All right, I'll do it for you, Adrian. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the live, and make sure you check out Adrian's channel at Rabona TV, where he talks about other cool stuff and
On
Juventus videos on YouTube. Link is in the description. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. And also, Beppe is going live right now, so go ahead and check out Just Juve and say hi to Zio Beppe for us. Thanks everybody for joining in, and we will see you at the post game.
Thanks again, everyone. Thank you so much, Adrian. Definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. And yeah, see you in a couple days. Good night, everyone.